Hey there, my name is Alex, I am the Silver Mont, and welcome to my review of Final Fantasy XIV Patch 6.4 The Dark Throne. Which of course, you're thinking, oh that came out ages ago, it was the end of May. Well, it was the end of May, but 6.4.5 just came out, yesterday at the time I'm recording this. And I feel it's better to review the patch as a whole, seeing as they're splitting them into two and all that. But the first installment in May gave us the main scenario quest, final part of the raid, Island Sanctuary, and the part that just came out, 6.4.5, gave us relic weapon updates, Hildebrand, variant dungeon, and Blue Mage level cap increase. So let's start with the main scenario. Most of my thoughts remain unchanged from 6.3, in that I feel Vitra has been squandered. Zero is not very interesting. She at least provided some amusement this time around, leading to some comic relief, but the whole basis of her character just isn't one I find all that interesting. That aside, I feel a little more engaged this time around. Looking at where things are left off, I'm curious to see how this is going to wrap up in 6.5. We also had what might be hints for the upcoming expansion content. Erenville and Krill scenes in particular seem like they are setting up something to do with the New World or Mericidia, that place. Main scenario quest ends up with a fight against Golbez, which I enjoyed as he had some really cool looking attacks, although I was mildly disappointed that nothing more dramatic happened during the fight. But maybe that means the final trial of this arc is still to come against Zeramis. Incidentally, can we get a Magic Knight class that fights like Golbez? I'd love that. His attacks were really cool looking, and he's one of my favourites in Opera Omnia too, Dissidia. As for the raid, Pandemonium. Well, it's been an interesting series, and it kind of took the opposite approach to Eden. For me, Eden started strong and trailed off a bit in the last third, in my opinion. Pandemonium's first two segments were fine, but nothing about them really stood out to me, and I imagine a year or two from now I'm going to struggle to remember most of them. The final third, however, kicked it up a notch, both in the encounters and the story, so I'm glad it ended on a relative high note, with us fighting Frieza, apparently. Good amount of this also feels kind of just like it's fan service for Elidibus. Is he really popular? Beats me. I know Emmet Selk is insanely popular, but he's not one of my favourites. Does make me wonder, with another raid series wrapped up, are we going to continue in this manner, or are we ever going to shake it up a bit? Don't get me wrong, there's nothing in particular that's wrong with how they've been doing raids, but the format makes it predictable now. We know it's going to be 4 fights per tier and they're all nothing but boss arenas since Stormblood. The format is fine, but I just mix it up a bit. It's becoming a little too predictable. Even if it's just the fight mechanics. I mean, things like Shinryu Extreme, I'd love to see more crazy stuff like that. Even in the standard versions, as I know a lot of the more crazy things or interesting things go into Savage. Beyond main scenario and the raid, the first patch gave us the Tataru Endeavors, which surprisingly nice this time with the Gaius stuff, even if it seemed very, very tangentially related to Tataru. Then the Island Sanctuary, which I have nothing to add upon how I've felt about it since its inception. I don't care for it. They've made it slightly less obnoxious with quality of life improvements, but it's just so tedious. It's click, 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 do this every week, meh. It's just not my kind of content. I get that some people love it, that's great for them. I will do the bare minimum to get the rewards, and then I'm out of it. Then, in 6.4.5, we get Hildebrand content, which continues to amuse in its own love it or hate it way. I like it. Maybe they ever so slightly kinda jumped the gun a little bit in this newest one without spoiling why, but I feel like they came up with an explanation for something that didn't need an explanation. But it's also tied to the relics. 2 for 1 sort of deal. You complete the Hildebrand content and then you can craft the next step of the relic weapons. I will say, these new steps of the relic, not bad looking. There's a few that I quite enjoy. But of course, that's going to boil down to personal preference. I know a lot of people love the Eureka weapons. I think most of them suck in terms of visuals. But at the end of the day, it's just your taste and preference. Much like armor. And, you know, that's a sore point for me. Why on earth is gear locked to jobs visually? Like, I get that you can't put on, like, a casting cloak or whatever when you're a tank, because it has the wrong stats, but visually, why? There's no reason a white mage can't glamour in fending gear. If a tank can walk around wearing a schoolgirl outfit, a caster can wear heavy armor looking stuff from event glamours, why are we limiting it in this way? Is it like a system thing? It's not like you can distinguish a class or a job based on their armor, because you could be a tank wearing a bikini, so I don't understand the reasoning behind it. I also dislike how, and this is becoming increasingly frequent, cash shop items are going from the more kind of wacky, out there, goofy stuff, like, oh, I'm wearing a schoolgirl outfit, sure, whatever, keep that in the cash shop, like a maid outfit, ooh. But the latest one, fantasy-inspired armor set, it's like a cloak with a sort of fur collar. Why is that on the cash shop? We had that Shadow Lord style mount, that's on the cash shop, instead of being an in-game acquisition. For a premium, subscription-based game, the over-reliance on the cash shop, whilst the main game gets less and less content with each expansion, is frustrating. I imagine for some people it's already reached that breaking point for them. The next expansion is going to be critical for me. If they give us even less content and even more cash shop things, there's a good chance I'll quit. My money does not flow to Square Enix without question, just because I like the game. I played like 1,000 hours of Destiny. I'm not going to buy the last expansion because that game is just like gouging the players. With every decision they make is pushing you towards spending more and more and more money whilst giving us less and less content. That's stupid, and I'm not going to support that practice. Anyway, aside from the relic weapons, which are still 1500 tomes, easy but not very involved, we have the second variant, criterion, whatever, dungeon, Mount Rocken. I must admit, I've only done the first dungeon once, but the second one seemed more enjoyable, as the environment was something we've not really seen before, deeper into Kingen territory. I like that, as I like seeing new things. The samurai boss in there was comical with how he tried to make it a bullet hell game for a few moments with that Itano Circus missile massacre attack of his. Finally, 6.4.5 gave us a 10 level bump for Blue Mage, including some 20 odd new spells, 24, something like that. I know a lot of people are sad that we can't get any spells from, or even do, the final trial from Shadowbringers, the something or other. I mean, you know the fight if you've done it. I have to agree, surely that is what a lot of people were excited for, getting something from that fight. Still, it's nice to see Blue bumped up a little, as I do quite enjoy Blue Mage. It's something different, and whilst you might argue how practically useful it is, I do like it for farming fates that it, well, you know, works for level-wise. I would like to see it have, I don't know, 1 or 2 more uses. Overall, I think 6.4 jumps above 6.3 in terms of content, but is it worth resubbing for this patch if you stopped? Not really, unless you're really into Blue Mage. If you quit after Endwalker or your friends who did, tell them to wait a month or 2 before the next expansion hits, and then you can catch up on all the content in one go. That's generally the way to go if you're not one of those people who's trapped into house management hell, knowing if you ever unsubscribe, your house will explode. Yay! Speaking of though, we're just a few days away from the Fan Festival at time of writing, which means we're likely to have the next expansion teased. Area, perhaps a new job tease would be my guess. The common bets are New World or Mericidia, Mercedes, yeah. As for jobs though, genuinely have no idea. A new scouting job and a casting job, that would be my guess for sort of the category, but as for the specifics, I don't know. There's a couple with like jobs from things like Tactics and Final Fantasy XI that are missing, but I don't know what we're gonna get. Let's find out in a few days with FanFest, where they announce Start Sprinter. Until then though, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think of 6.4 and 0.4.5, and the cash shop for that matter. Especially what you think about the cash shop. Till then though, ciao.